This land is your land, and this land is my land. In the California, in the New York Island, in the Redwood Forest.
What's going on, traders? Hope everybody's having a great long holiday for the 4th of July weekend. And wanted to do a recap here of the S&P, the Spider ETF, of course. But before we get into it, a reminder, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, here we're going to start off with the monthly chart as we are just getting into July. And what a move for the bulls here. As you can see, this rally really started with this beautiful pennant setup here. And we had that nice breakout, came back in, touched the monthly 20 right around this 403 area, which now is POC on the monthly. Probably wasn't before, but it is now. And then we saw that beautiful breakout, nearly $40 from that area to the upside. And now we are in definitely an interesting place for the bulls, and besides the bears getting really pulverized, for the lack of a better word, at an interesting place for them as well. Looking at the monthly chart here, first thing that comes to my eye is we are coming very close to the top of this monthly value area high here, which right now is sitting at 447.17. So I'll be watching that area and see how price reacts. Could be an interesting place. I don't know, we do have kind of a whole supply area in this zone, but I don't know if I'd be personally that interested in a direct short here. However, I might be a little bit more inclined as we get closer to 450, but I'm going to have to see. If I was to take the short here, I'd be looking more for some type of a failed break setup and maybe aiming at some 440 puts. But I don't really think, it's a swing trade. This is kind of just a day trade kind of, potentiality. Maybe as we got closer to that 450 area, I could potentially be in for more of a swing trade short, but I'll just have to see as we get over the holiday weekend and see what price wants to do. Another thing that I want to mention, if we do get some retracement, I'd be looking to see how far we actually end up retracing within this monthly candle. As long as we really hold that 50% line, I think that everything is fine overall. And bigger picture, of course, the bulls are totally in control, but I'm just talking about as far as warning signs for a retracement. Again, we don't know how deep it is going to be overall, but a little cooling off wouldn't hurt anybody, and potentially set us up in the month of July for a potential bull flag setup here. But of course that is just speculation and we just take it level to level, but it is something that I will be keeping my eye on as this month progresses, because that would be very interesting to me if we start a monthly bull flag, and that could potentially lead us to an even bigger breakout, targeting up into the near that 460 and 462 area, into this area of liquidity. So we'll have to see how that plays itself out. However, I do think that the markets probably need to establish a little bit of a range, and find some balance within the auction, and then it will figure out what it wants to do overall. But it really would not surprise me to see up close to that 450, or just slightly a few dollars over 453 area. But let's now take a look at the weekly chart, and just kind of peruse through these as quickly as possible. Still here coming in, hitting this resistance zone, supply area, and POC just sitting right above, not POC, excuse me, value area highs also sitting right above here on the weekly at 448, 44. And what a great squeeze we had to end the week on Friday. Of course, markets were open half day today, so I don't have the data how much they were up, but I do know futures were up at least, almost 55 points or 50 points at one point on Friday. So quite the rally overall in the markets. We got 2 trend days this week, so it was very fantastic for the bulls, and it was a lot of fun. But now, as we are coming out of this and coming into normal trading after the long weekend, I'd be very wary about that consolidation, trickier price action, prone to a lot of fake outs, starting to drift into the market here as I was mentioning, as we try to establish some balance overall. And let's now look at the daily chart and see what we can surmise from there. One thing I will say about the weekly, I don't know if we'll get a retracement all the way back into the weekly 9, but certainly a lot of space here, especially between that nice 20-day period average. So things are getting a little bit extended, and like I was saying earlier, some type of pullback would certainly be not surprising and needed for the markets to cool down, to build up a little bit more power before we can move back up again. Very similar to what we saw in this past, not last week, but the week prior, right here on this candle here. I guess this says the 19th. So yeah, and that's totally needed for that move, and gave a real nice mid-candle breakout there to the upside. So we'll see if how strong the bulls are, if they only pull us back 25% of this weekly candle, or if we get a 50% retracement of this candle as well. And of course, these levels or areas are kind of bigger picture stuff. We'll of course cut down a little bit more a little bit more in depth here as we move on. But bigger picture here, that 440, 438, 30 area, 25, that's about that halfway zone. So we'll see if this major area of last week's high can hold, and as long as it can, in that 440, 438 area, and then I would say it would be unlikely we'd see that much more of a retracement. But either way, it could retrace all the way down to 430 and even lower, before there's that much context for a bigger picture bull case. But it is certainly worth noting that this weekly is certainly getting a bit hot here on my Momo. And that's definitely something I want to pay attention to. Let me see if I can expand it right here and see exactly what type of reading it's giving us. All right, it's not letting me do it. Okay, here we go. What do we got? A 13.3. So it's getting pretty spicy up here, and that's just something I want to keep an eye on as the market continues, especially with value area high so close. I wouldn't be surprised either to see a continuation rally a little bit and maybe clipping this area, or maybe just above that 450 and then failing back down. So again, just speculation, but that wouldn't surprise me either. So now as we break it down even further, let's take a look at the yearly chart. Okay, sorry, I hit the 3-year, and that value area high is still just above. This one's a little bit lower, 446. We'll call it 45, so I'll be watching that as well. But let's just go to the 1 year instead of the 3-year daily. Okay, well, the 1 year is certainly telling another story as far as being outside of this value area, which is definitely something I'll be paying attention to. Momo here kind of curling up a little bit as we head into this supply area again. But what a beautiful gap up we had on Friday, and just a real nice move. We were talking about that potential inverted head and shoulders and that potential bull flag forming on the daily in the last couple of videos that we did, and we certainly saw that beautiful breakout to the upside, closing out the week. All right, so that being said, let's look at a couple of other things very quickly. Now I don't think I updated this, and I meant to, but we'll take a little peek. Okay, so now we've had plenty of these bull pivots we were watching here as they've been recaptured. You can see that beautiful move here as we took this one out and moved to the upside. And what I'm going to do right now is duplicate this one and bring it back, and I want to see how this gap here on the daily is protected and have that be one of my pivots that I will be watching. And I guess let's see where the low of this is here. Also we'll be keeping an eye around 441, but really like I was saying earlier, that 440 438 area, certainly another zone that is important to watch. So as I was mentioning, as far as the retracements, you have to take them with a grain of salt if you are going short in and out, because there are so many pivots that the bears really need to take out to see any type of real selling in the market. Now, of course, it could drop $2 or $3 or even $4 or $5, and really wouldn't mean much to me overall about the bigger macro bullish thesis. But having these key pivots in mind certainly give you a little bit of a head start. If we start violating those areas, though, we'd probably look for a little bit more retracement, possibly back into here. You can see some nice confluence here, and of course this is going to shift, being the 9 daily EMA, but nice confluence as this is kind of coming up and interacting with this last bull pivot that we had. But we'll also see, we're coming into this other major trend line here, and excuse me because I am about to sneeze. Well, sorry about that. I will be watching this trend line here as well as we start to move higher. Multiple reactions in this area before, so we will be watching that for possible failed break setups as we move along here. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so multiple reactions, and I could go even further back on that if we wanted to see even more. So well tested area here as we move up into this 445, 446, 450 area, this whole zone, right? So now let's go into a little bit more in depth. Going to take a look at our plan that we've really been trading off of, as we had found that balance zone and really our main roadmap that we have been watching as far as these different bear and bull levels that I was kind of mapping out as we've traded around this established balance zone, and we were talking about getting over this top of the balance zone here, this range. And when we did, was talking about that we were looking for that 440 and all these other targets up here, which all have successfully hit. When we were talking about that short side breaking out of here, we had a little fake break here. We didn't get that third one down to 430 zone, but that really just shows you how strong the bulls were overall when they did put in this low on Monday, and then a higher low here. As you can see, boom, and then it was clearly off to the races once we recaptured and moved back up. So what a nice move for the bulls. As I said before, all the targets hit here to the upside with a little fake break action here. So I will overall again That of course the 438 area, which is back in this range here, certainly will be watching. But these zones now I will be watching in the in the short term at 442, 40 area, of 441. 30, 25, and 440. Any areas in here, be potentially interested in some potential dip buys to see if they are supported. As far as the direct buy, that's I think at each individual's discretion and each individual trader's risk tolerance. Of course, the safer move is waiting for the break and recapture, and then ride up. But we'll have to see. Bulls have proven to be strong buying these dips, so we can just to see if that trend continues. Now, of course, if we start to break, I would say probably this 441 area, might see a little bit better move to the downside as far as the retracement. But with the shorts, it's just level to level and lower expectations and smaller size, because you are fighting the bigger macro trend. And of course in here, we could see a bit of a pullback like this. I mean, this was a nice pullback, and that was a nice short to participate in, right? So, what I want to watch for though is, and I'm curious, now we had this pullback, right, from 443.62 all the way down to about $10 lower, 433 area, or 432 area, excuse me. And now I'm wondering, if we do get the retracement, how I want to really see how deep it is. Is it only going to be down to this zone? Are we going to come back and retest 440? That wouldn't surprise me, that key area here. But really, like I was saying, as far as the macro, and even on this mini macro, kind of time, we're just looking at 15 days hourly, of course. But, really we have to remember that even if that trade is coming in for us, that, you got to be able to flip. Even if you're short here, you got to be able to flip that mindset when we really come into these big pivot areas. And yes, 442. 40 is a zone, and 441 sure is a zone, but that big zone is at 440, of course, the whole number area. And if we came back into there, we'd certainly be interested in, that might even set us up for a nice swing trade to the long side for even bigger picture. To see if we can actually start to get up into that 445 and some of those other areas I was talking about while we were looking at the weekly. A little far away here on the smaller time frame, but I was talking about that 450 ultimately. But some type of cool off, wouldn't surprise me, and really give us that reset that's potentially needed. To move up higher. And if we come into this 440, right, we're really just making another higher low overall in the bigger picture. So you have to keep that in mind. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. We could take a quick look at the fibs here if we want. Bigger picture, we are coming into the top of this fib area here, this extension again. So possible double top, we don't know. We'll have to see how price reacts. But I mean, the bulls are free and clear for any type of dips, as long as we hold this. Now that I am looking at this daily again, I wanted to point out, I think it's this here. Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's looking like that. I thought I just refixed this, sorry. One thing I still will be watching, where is this from? Okay, this is what it's from. Alright, so, okay, this is pretty much that other area I went over earlier, this zone in that 442, 441 area. Let's watch this, for sure. This just general area. We already kind of went over a couple of the levels in this zone that I'll be watching, but these lows get taken out here from this breakout from Friday, okay, then we could possibly see a little bit more of that retracement, a lower, and I'll be watching again at 441 and then back down to that 440 area here, 440.25. But the main thing I wanted to point out on this chart, give me the daily, give me the daily. Just gonna take this off for now. The other thing I want to keep an eye on is we did have this beautiful gap up. Is the gap to potentially be filled? I don't know if we'll fill the whole thing. It's all just speculation as far as that's concerned, but it lines up pretty nicely here. The start of this gap, the low of this candle in that 441.11 area to be exact, but just like we were talking about that zone earlier in the video and just a few seconds ago, if we do start to enter under this area, we could potentially be looking at a gap fill situation, and that would be, I would say, pretty depressing for the bulls to make this move and then to give it all back. But we've seen crazier things in the market, so it is definitely something we want to watch out for, as this area here could be potentially filled. But that is yet to be seen. Maybe we'll only make it halfway with how strong the bulls have been, and we then get rallied back up. But before we close out, I think just the only last thing that I really wanted to go over was the fact again of that range to potentially now a new balance zone to be created. Overall, we had this one that we traded in, and now let's see the markets start to potentially create another one. How high, how low, I'm not 100% sure, but we got to give it a couple of days of price action to kind of work itself out. I mean, maybe the range is going to be established only down to here, down to 441. Maybe they'll establish it down here to that 440. That wouldn't surprise me. But really, this area is going to be the main zone of this range breakout from before. But let's see what they do. This could end up being the range, and then once this balance is established, we'll have some zones to trade off of and really know where, if we start to break out of it or break under or break a 50% retracement within the range, where our pivots are. So we'll have to see. But I think that's pretty much all I wanted to go over. I hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July, and like I said, I've been enjoying the time off. And yeah, that's all, and take care.